Major League Baseball just wrapped up a series in Australia, or are they just kicking it off, right? It'll be this weekend.
Yeah.
How important is it to continue to grow baseball on an international level?
It's huge. First of all, thanks for having me on. But I think you've seen baseball grow. I mean, we're getting all-star players from Curacao now with Andrew Jones, and now in Atlanta with Anderson Simmons, and we got a young guy here, Xander Bogaerts, who is a future all-star in my opinion, just a young kid that's on the rise, and all the Japanese players coming over, and you know, we're getting guys from all over the world that come here to play baseball. It's a huge honor to play with some of these guys, and Australia, you know, I've played with some Peter Moylan's one of my buddies from Atlanta, and he's an Aussie, and so they're going over there and trying to even spread baseball over there. It's great.
What do you think, I mean, about an issue that we have talked about a lot here? I know Tom Keene talks about it in the morning. He's a huge baseball, huge Red Sox fan, and that is the speed of the game. You know, a lot of people can't get into it because it takes a long time to sit through, but of course it's traditional, it's iconic, it's the kind of thing that fans would never want you to change anything about. Where do you fall on that issue?
Well, we do, you know, I want to get home and play with my kids too before they go to bed, but games are long, and when you're a Red Sox, you're gonna play long games. We grind at bats. We got guys that see a lot of pitches. Us and the Yankees play some of the biggest games and longest games in the league every year. So it's definitely an issue, but you know, it's one of those things. There's some things you can't avoid. There's TV timeouts that extend games. There's you know, pitchers that don't throw strikes, or guys in walking, you're pitching around guys. It's just the game's gonna be long sometimes when you have these long, especially with the DH. I was in the National League most of my career. It's a little bit of a faster game. When you add that extra hitter in there, it makes it tough sometimes. So you know, baseball is baseball. We don't want to change too much, but we definitely are aware of trying to speed up the game as best we can.
David, let me ask you, here you are starting spring training. We're also watching the NCAA playoffs here, March Madness, if you would, which brings us to an interesting question. When you look at a sport like baseball versus a sport like basketball, the approach as far as the farm team effort is completely totally different. In basketball, you've got kids that are going to play for the NCAA, and they're playing at schools, they're not being paid, versus baseball, where you have a farm team system, and it's more of a sort of a professional type system. Do you think a farm team would ever work in basketball?
I don't know, because I think the transition is so much closer from the NBA to college. You see guys that come in and can shine right away, or they take their bumps, but they're just such good athletes. The game inside the game of baseball is so detailed. There's so many different components that go along with Major League Baseball that you kind of got to learn the ropes in the minor leagues. I think it helps. Those players that are really good, they'll fly through the minor leagues that belong in the major leagues.
But why couldn't you have a minor league system in basketball as well? I mean, it's worked in baseball. Why not try it in other sports?
I don't think it would be a bad thing, but I don't know if it's necessarily a need. You know, basketball is such an athletic sport, and you're trying to put the ball in the hoop. Baseball, there's a lot, you know, pitching, catching, fielding. There's a lot of different elements to baseball than basketball, but I'm not saying it wouldn't be great, but they do have the B leagues, and they get players from the NBA, so I think they have a little bit of a farm system, but it's not quite as detailed as Major League Baseball.
Do you think those college players should be paid? I mean, as they would be in a farm system?
That's a tough one. That's a real tough one. I think if you're profiting off of players, if they're a money-making university, I don't see why not. I think it'll clean up some of the outside, you know, influences that can get into college sports. Some of the you know, behind-the-scenes things that aren't maybe so legal that goes on, but I think it would help clean some of that up. I don't know if it would get rid of it, but I think time will tell with that.
Let me take you back to baseball here. You guys, world champions, are Tom Keene, as I mentioned on Bloomberg Surveillance, massive fan. I think he cried a lot of tears of joy last year. Is that magic still with you in the dugout in this year's team? Do you still feel that that blessing and the pressure to repeat?
I mean, there's no pressure for sure. I mean, we've turned the page to an extent. We still talk about some highlights from last year and the fun things that went on, but it's great to be back in this locker room with the guys that you did that with and reminisce and see those guys. But we come to work every day and we get to work. So last year's behind us. There will be some fun things that we'll get to do this year. Get our rings. I'm looking forward to that opening day in Boston.
Nice.
To get those rings and to raise that banner and to go to the White House is going to be a cool thing. I've never been there, so for me personally, that's going to be a fun thing. But you know, we've turned the page on last year. It was a great year, but we're looking forward to seeing how well we can play this year.